So breaking news, the Steelers, in a move that, quite frankly, will make 31 other NFL franchises very happy, are reportedly working towards a deal to hire Mike McCarthy to be their next head coach. Um, and I don't think how I can put into appropriate words how angry and how disappointed I am at this hire, because it just doesn't make any sense from an organizational standpoint. If you're actually looking to bring your organization into the modern era of the NFL, yeah, had interviews lined up with the likes of Chris Shula and Anthony Weaver, who, despite not having a ton of head coaching experience, again, sometimes I feel like the reason that the Steelers have had success in some of their head coaching hires is they bring in a guy with new perspectives, new ideas, that can potentially boost the franchise forward, can move us forward, can help us to continue to grow. And especially after a decade now, as by the time we have another opportunity, if we even make it to the playoffs next season, it'll have been a decade since our last playoff win. 10 years for this organization. And granted, no losing season in that time. Certainly very good. But it's getting to that next step. And bringing in Mike McCarthy, where does that leave us? What does Mike McCarthy bring to the table that can help get this franchise over the hump? And ultimately, that answer is nothing. In Dallas, it was the same issues. Dallas, very good regular season team, got to the playoffs, kept getting stonewalled every single time. Obviously you got some of the aspect of Jerry Jones in there, and you can point to organizational stuff that he had to deal with. But I can't imagine that there is a single person in the Steelers fan base that is happy about this hire, because this screams of two things. This screams to be a panic hire for the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's Discord blowing up, so I'm sure I'm about to get more of those as this continues. But this screams of two things. The screams of, hey, we need to get somebody in here to make sure that we continue to have a winning record. We don't want to be too risky, because that is such a large part of our identity, is that we're always in the picture there. And then with this also reeks of panic in the quarterback room, because the only reason I could see wanting to bring back Mike McCarthy is to keep Aaron Rodgers, who I think more of the fan base would like to get back, because he is probably the most talented option to bring back at the quarterback position. But frankly, after what we saw at multiple points this season from Aaron Rodgers, he should retire. Aaron Rodgers should retire. He's done. He has his moments, but this is not the Aaron Rodgers from MVP. This is not pre-Achilles tear Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't have the same touch down the field. And you can argue, he didn't have good wide receivers, or the offensive scheming wasn't there. But ultimately, that doesn't matter. Aaron Rodgers, as a player, was not good enough. He was not executing well enough. He was not consistent enough where the Steelers should want him back and should make moves in an effort to try and bring him back. Again, Mike McCarthy did grow up in Pittsburgh, so maybe that's some of it. He honestly, helped mold Rodgers into a multiple-time MVP throughout his career. The offenses in Dallas were largely very good. But again, there were too many moments where it's just you're trying to remain the same team when it's been clear over the past 10 years that the team that we are right now doesn't work when we get into January. And I think that is the most frustrating part. Now, we are clearing house with a lot of coordinators, so maybe there are a couple of people that we are looking at as a potential coordinator hire that could fill in for some of those weaknesses. Maybe you're bringing in Mike McCarthy as a stability guy, and maybe you're looking to overhaul the coordinator room, and maybe that will help balance out some of this. But again, I feel like that is very counterintuitive to bringing in a guy like Mike McCarthy, because that sounds like hey, we don't want to change too much because we think this system is working. We think the people that we have in the building are working. When it's been clear year after year after year that having the same structure, having the same coaching is not working. Because when it comes down to it, you need to have success in January and February, and this franchise has failed to do that. So it's really difficult. And, it's near impossible to feel positive about this signing, especially when the Baltimore Ravens went out and got Jesse Minter. They went out and got a fresh new name. Obviously, the Cleveland Browns, they are going through some of their own struggles, but they may promote internally and be setting up to potentially hire a guy next season. And with the amount of coach openings that are out there, some of these key personnel that normally, may look at this job and say, hey, maybe Mike McCarthy isn't all that. If I can impress as a coordinator, I can then step up. That's not the case here. So I don't understand the point of this hire. Because people were yelling at Rodgers to retire, walking off the field in the wild card game. We heard it on the national broadcast. The defense was pretty poor all year. Mike McCarthy is not really a defensive guy. Certainly I wouldn't view him as a defensive guy. I wouldn't even view him as an offensive guy. So what is the point of this hire? Is going to be the question that we're going to have to ask for a while. So you need to take a look at some of the Steelers' cap space for the moment. Steelers' cap space going into next season. So just pulling that up now. Where do we sit? Because we're not going to be super flexible. So we have $46 million in cap space right now. And we just there's so much dead money that's going to be sitting on the, DK Metcalf at $31 million, Jalen Ramsey at $17.2 million, Jonnu Smith at $10.8 million, going into next season. Like, there are just so many positions that it's just not going to be, it's not going to be good enough. And actually, that may be, going into 2026, 2027. Because I think Jonnu Smith isn't going to be under contract going into this next season. I think we just had him to a 1-year extension. But this move is just baffling, because there were 4 candidates that I was hoping the Steelers would look at and hire, at least coming into this coaching cycle. And that was Robert Saleh. That was Clint Kubiak of the Seahawks. That was Jesse Minter of the Chargers, who I figured was a little bit more of a long shot. And then the guy who I thought was almost a shoo-in, who was Brian Flores from the Vikings. And frankly, I think any of those guys would have been a significantly better hire. You got a little bit of youth in there. Flores has had experience within the organization. I think he was part of that archetype of coach that we would have been attracted to. Especially, he's kind of Tomlin-esque, but still could bring in some connections there, where something could have changed. But it is unbelievably frustrating that we didn't even really consider Flores or even Shula and Shalasi from the LA Rams, where it just, yeah, you'll do. And it's an unbelievably infuriating hire, like to the point where I might not wear a jersey for a game next year. And that sucks. Because, everybody at the draft, like, there could be boos at the draft. There could be sell the team chants at the draft in Pittsburgh. That's how bad I think the response to this hiring could end up being. Because this could create a firestorm that could frankly go all the way up to the Rooney level. And it's just, it does not bode well for the next couple of seasons. And quite frankly, this organization needs to figure out a lot, because there are some massive, massive problems with this team that need to be sorted out yesterday. And this is a step in the wrong direction. But definitely let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'll probably put out a short when and if this is confirmed. Hopefully this video ages super poorly. And this is a whole bunch of chaff. But I don't see that happening. Too many sources have reported on it. But the Steelers hire Mike McCarthy as their next head coach. And this could be one of the biggest mistakes that the Steelers organization has made in a very long time. So, yeah, I mean, just unbelievably infuriating that this is the way that the organization has decided to progress. But definitely keep an eye out for more videos in the future. I'll probably try and put together a Steelers at the end of the season. I'll probably put out something for the Steelers, but I'll probably put out a short or two before then. But quite possibly the worst outcome of this offseason, of this process of replacing Mike Tomlin for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But until next time, I'll see you later.